A lot of people have been wondering what prices are like in dealer-only auctions, especially in times like this where the economy is kind of trash again. So to answer that, I'm going to be checking a dealer-only auction website in multiple states in the US to see what prices are like around you. Let's get to it. What's up? My name is Jamal from Flipping University. In this channel, I help people that might not have the best mechanical experience go from amateur to expert flipping cars so that they can build a life of freedom. And before we get into everything, I just want to go over a little bit of the specifics just to see exactly what we're going to be doing. So as I mentioned in the intro, we're going to be using an online dealer website to actually check to see the prices for cars along the US. And I'm not going to be checking every single state. It would take way too much time to really gather all that information, but I'm just going to be checking the main states that I see in the US. And realistically, even for me, I mean, I'm in New York, I buy cars that could literally be like 2 or 3 states away from the same exact dealer website. So even if the state that you're in doesn't match what I'm going to be going over, that's fine. You technically could still be checking that same state and buying cars from them as well. And the good thing about this is, regardless, even if you're not into dealer auctions and stuff like that yourself, it could still tell you where the market's going to be in the future, because this is the same websites and the same auctions that dealers in the US are going to. And because of that, this is going to reflect what potentially can happen in the future after the prices trickle down to the regular consumers. But how exactly I'm going to be doing it is I'm going to be checking for cars that are under potentially $2,000 in each state. I say $2,000 just because that's a price that I would usually recommend people starting at if they're just getting into flipping cars. I usually wouldn't say getting into a car for like $5,000 or so if you're just flipping cars. And then I'm going to be checking to see how much that car would actually sell for if it was sold in that state as well. And we're just going to be comparing to see what profit margin you can get as the best amount for each state. And at the end, when we do finish checking to see exactly what prices are like in each state, we're also going to be going over what's the best states in terms of how many cars are going through on this dealer-only auction website, just because you're going to have the best options to buy cars if there's more cars going through as well. Oh, and one other thing too. So I'm also only going to be mainly looking for cars that I would go for myself. So there's basically cars that don't really need a crazy amount of work, just maybe a couple things to fix and then possibly just a detail with it. But now let's get to it. Alright, so here we are inside. Let me just show you a quick thing of this is the auction I'm going to be using. A lot of people that already subscribed to the channel and everything before already know this is one of like the main auctions that I use. It's called ACV auctions, and it's just an online auction. This is different than the ones that you generally go to in person, where it's just all the cars going through run lanes and stuff like that. With this one, there's the auction itself is basically just a chain that links together all the dealerships that's in the US, and because of that, you could usually get even better prices than the ones that you go to in person, just because there's not much of a expense, of course, that the business itself has to keep everything running. But they have it from all states, you know, as you can see here. There's Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, you know, it's just all different types of things coming up. But now, yeah, we're just gonna go state by state to see what the prices are looking like. Alright, so we got our first car to check out, guys. This one is a 2007 Saturn Aura XE, and this one is in Illinois. It's in Lincoln, Illinois. It'll be a pretty decent ways away from me, but overall it looks like it's in good condition. It's a green light car, so for people that don't know, it basically just means that there's like a warranty associated with the car. So let's say if it's where, you know, you buy the car and then something comes up that wasn't announced in the description here, then you can potentially get your money back, or the seller can cover whatever the fee is, whatever the fix is. And yeah, I mean, the car looks like it's good. I mean, I could go over a couple pictures too, but inside and out, I mean, of course, it probably just needs a detail. Most cars, realistically, in most of these auctions, at least need a detail, you know, if nothing else. But that's part of the detail. That's part of the interior right there too. But it looks like it's actually a leather interior too, so even detailing, it probably wouldn't be that crazy. But let's see what the price goes for. You'll see right here too, whenever someone jumps in to bid for the car after it's a minute and under, then it'll pop back up to a minute. So we'll just wait to see what the final price is at. But whoever gets this car, looks like they could get a pretty good deal. I mean, it only has 160,000 miles on it. Oh, and I will mention this too, it does have one code on it. It has a evap system leak. It's an evap large leak as well. But usually, I mean, most people, if you already know about cars a little bit, it's not usually a crazy fix or something like that. So maybe the person that buys it might have to put in like another $100, $200 into it, but you know, nothing too crazy. Alright, so it looks like it ended at $1,100 and the vehicle was actually sold. And just so I don't have to keep jumping back into it, I am just going to show up the auction prices right now as well. This is just the different tiers that ACV Auctions has when you buy a car through them. It depends on what the price is under, but from what I remember, if it's under $2,000, let's say if it's like $1,000, $2,000, I believe it's like a $175 auction fee. So let's say $175 on top of that, that puts it at $1,375. So not bad at all. And now let's see what the car would sell for on average on Kelley Blue Book. Alright, so here we are on Kelley Blue Book just to see the pricing. I typed up everything, the exact mileage and everything like that. And it looks like average price it would sell for around $2,700. So let's say, you know, if someone bought it for around that $1,375 all in, again they probably would be all into it really for like $1,500, especially after they fix that evap leak. Shouldn't really be too much of a big fix or something like that, but let's say maybe around $1,500-$1,600 they'll be all in, and they could basically make a profit around $1,000 with this one. Okay, so this is another one I just checked out. This one's actually in my town. This one's posted up in Brooklyn, New York. This is a 2010 Honda Fit Sport. It does have a good amount of miles on it. It's 211,000 miles. But I will say for a Honda, I wouldn't mind that as much. Most other cars I wouldn't, but for a Honda, it's not too bad. It doesn't have a green light because of it. Generally, at least for ACV Auctions, if it goes over like 200,000 miles, then you know that's when the whole green light policy just wouldn't really take into effect. Then at that point, usually it would be like a red light car instead. But as you can see, the prices is popping up. I'm going to see if this is actually going to be under $2,000. I mean, if it's still in the video, then that means it should be under $2,000, but we'll see where it lands at. The car does look good. I already checked out how it looks inside and out. It's not like it's any big rust spots or anything like that. Most likely just doing a tune-up. I could not find a word for it. Just doing a tune-up should be enough, you know, to be able to fix something like that. Let's see where it ends at. Alright, so I was wondering if this was actually going to fall under the budget. This, I will say, this is like right at budget, so technically it'll be like a little over. It ended at $1,900, so with the auction fees, it technically would be like $2,075, let's say, but basically at $2,000. Now this is the Kelley Blue Book values for this one. This one actually looks pretty good. Like their private sale value is just about $4,000 for it, and I mean, if someone invested in that one, you know, they might have to spend maybe another $50 to $100 for the spark plug, you know, tune up and stuff like that, and that's most likely what would fix it. I wouldn't say it definitely would, but most likely, you know, maybe they'd be in all into the car probably like $2,150, like right over $2,000. I know we're supposed to stay at $2,000, but hey, it's right over it. Okay, just do a couple DoorDashes or whatever, and boom, you'll have the extra money to get the car all good. But yeah, I mean, it sells for $4,000, so it's close to a $2,000 profit margin actually, which is pretty good for that amount invested. Alright, so this is the next car I just found. This is a 2003 Lincoln Town Car. Yes, it does look a little old, but people still buy these cars. They're still really reliable cars. They're like executive type of cars as well, luxury cars as well. This one is in Florida, so we'll see what price the car actually ends at. It's about to end right now. We'll see. I mean, usually you know how it is. People end up jumping in last minute. Let's see if it actually ends at that. Whoa, okay. Someone just jumped in for a much bigger bid. Someone's ready to play. Alright, it's at $1,550 now. It still should be under that $2,000 budget. And I will say there's no problems with the car either. There's no mechanical problems at all. It does have a red light, but from what it looks like, it's basically just because of the years of the car being like I guess over 20 years from, you know, today's date. That's where it'll end up being like a red light car instead of a green light car. It's a good car. It only has 90,000 miles on it. Also shows that it's a one owner car. It probably was maintained very well and is in good condition as well too. Let's see if it actually goes for this price. Alright, so it actually ended at $1,650, which I'm not even sure, to be honest, exactly what this car sells for. So we'll see what the car sells for now to see exactly how good of a deal that is. Doesn't look like it's that bad. We'll see though. Wow, okay, so not bad. So on Kelley Blue Book, it looks like it could sell for like $3,800. So I mean, if you bought it for $1,650, it could probably be all in around like $1,800, and it needs literally nothing. But probably just basically a detail and can get around a $2,000 profit. That's pretty good too. $1,800 invested. All right, so this is another one. This is a 2005 Chrysler Town and Country Touring. And let's see, this one is in Indianapolis. Doesn't have much going on with it. The only thing that's with problems, let's say, would be the P0404 and P0401, which really just comes back to our EGR valve, which for most cars is a really quick fix. But besides that, it does say there's a suspension issue too, so maybe it might have to be where you fix one of the struts or something like that as well. But oh boom, it actually just ended, and it ended at $1,050. That's actually really cheap. I'm pretty sure, I'm gonna check in a second, but I'm pretty sure you could probably sell this around like $3,000. I mean, this is 130,000 miles on it, and this one as well also looks like it's overall in pretty good condition. Wow, so another good one. Like, these are all just back-to-back good deals. I mean, there's another one that didn't really need much. I mean, this one needed a little bit more mechanical work, and some of the others where it literally just needs a detail. It sold for $1,000 basically on ACV, so it'll probably be all in around like $1,300. Not bad at all. So that gives you like a $1,500 profit if you sold it for that $2,800. All right, so now we have another one here. This is a 2008 Mazda CX9. It's in Maryland, I believe. Okay, but yeah, this one's in Maryland. Right now it's posted at $950. We'll see who starts jumping in. I'm pretty sure it's gonna go a good amount over that, but it's a green light car. Blue light meaning it's title absent, but still, I mean, problem wise, it's looking pretty good. It does look like it has like a low level for the oil and the coolant, and there's a suspension noises coming up, but nothing crazy. There's no clear codes or anything either, and the car looks like it's in good condition, but we'll see where this ends off at. I would expect it's gonna go closer to $2,000, honestly. Let's look and see what the interior is like. Okay, I gotta love how ACV is too when it comes to all of this stuff right here. I mean, this is the stuff that I would do if I was there in person as well, checking to see what, you know, it's like under the engine cap and different things like that. All right, so the auction just ended, and it ended at a pretty cheap price too. Like, this one went for $1,350. I just expected it would really go for like $2,000, but I will say, although the auction ended, it's in a pending state. So basically, whoever got that top bid, they're probably going to be going into negotiations with the person that's selling the car. So I'm gonna check to see what's like the average value that the car would sell for. You can check through this thing right here, the ACV market report, and see around how much the value would generally go for, because I'm pretty sure it's going to go a little above this. Alright, so I pulled up the MMR for it, and for the people that don't know, MMR just stands for Man Market Report. It's basically just like what a lot of dealers would use to get the general pricing for cars if they're at the dealership. Well, if they're at the auction, a lot of times you could just kind of walk up and scan the car's VIN, and you could pull up the MMR right here. But the MMR shows that it would go around $2,400. So I would think, I mean, if the seller tries to get a sale, they could probably get it down to like where the person is all in at basically $2,000. A good amount of cars that I've gotten before where the MMR is a good like $500 over or $600 over what I ended up buying it. But of course, that's all hypothetical. We don't know for sure. It's probably around there, especially with the fact that the bidding did stop at a pretty low price, $1,300. That's pretty cheap. Alright, and this is the Kelly Blue Book value. So it looks like it would sell, I mean, this is actually one of the first cars, I believe, that sells for over $4,000 potentially, you know, as like the average private party value. So, you know, that could be, again, depending on how much the seller ends up paying at the end, you know, he could potentially come up with over $2,000 from it. Alright, so we got another car here. I will say this one doesn't seem like as good of a deal. This is probably like the least good deal that I've seen so far. But this one, it's a 2003 Nissan Maxima SE, has 130,000 miles. It is a green light car, and it doesn't really look like there's any big problems with it. It's just like exhaust noise stuff. So that's, I mean, I listened to it already. It just sounds like it's just a little bit louder than normal. So it is basically just a detailed job, and it's in Connecticut. But the fact that it's already at $1,800, like, to be all in, even at this point, like if no one else jumped above that, and people are still going above that, which is crazy. But for this to be over $2,000, like, I don't know, I feel like it should be selling in private sale around that price. So that's surprising, but we'll see where the price ends off at. Alright, so yeah, this thing ended at $2,050, which with auction fees on top of that, auction fees at that point would probably be like a little over $200. So with a car like this, paying a little over $2,000 for it, I'm gonna check to see what the private party value is, but I'll be surprised if this would be some amazing flip, really. Alright, so this is the value for the Nissan Maxima. So private party value, it would go for $2,300, which is basically the same price that whoever bought that thing for would be paying. So that's a surprising one. I've actually gotten cars from Connecticut before, and there's been much better deals than this. But hey, this is what Connecticut has to offer right now. I will say, I mean, they are right next to New York, which is a big market. So, but yeah, that's Connecticut for you. All right, so I got another one for you guys. This one is pretty close to finishing up. I literally just found this in time before it goes by, but there's a 2004 Honda Element, and this one is in Kentucky. But it does have a good amount of miles, and because of that, it has a red light instead of green. It has 195,000 miles on it. But again, for a Honda, like it could take it probably go well over 300,000 miles if it's maintained well. And boom, it actually just finished. It didn't even go above that 1,500. So all in, the person that's buying it will probably be at like $1,700 basically, with auction fees and everything. There's nothing major. Coolant level looks like it's a little low. There's an ABS sensor on. Besides that, it's all good. But let's see what the price it would sell for is as well. And this one looks like it would sell for around $3,400 on Kelley Blue Book. So say if you were all in, 1,700 bucks. What is that, like $1,400 you'd be getting from it? Wait, no, I'm sorry. My math are a little wrong. That's probably around like $1,700. So not bad, especially for a car that you don't have to do anything with at all. But with this one, I will say the title is absent, so you would have to wait a little bit for the title to come in. Most likely. It's posted in New Jersey. I mean, if it's cheap enough, I might just go for this one. It's a 2004 Honda Odyssey, 160,000 miles, green light. Doesn't look like it needs much of anything, and it also does look like it's in pretty good condition. Yeah, let's cut back to see what the price ends up finishing at. Okay, so the sale ended at $1,600, and it still isn't a pending sale. Could be over this. MMR puts it at $1,700. So really, the seller, I wouldn't expect him to go much higher, like to request much higher than what the price is at now. It would sell around $3,200. Probably expect like a little over $1,000 profit margin off this. But yeah, it's a 2005 Acura MDX. It has 140,000 miles, which again is not too much. This is just a luxury Honda. This one is actually for my people in Georgia. There is one issue with it. Power steering is out. Doing something like a power steering fix, usually not too crazy. I've done it on a car like this, and it's usually very easy. Let's see what it ends up selling for. Wow, so it really ended at $900 for this one, which is really cheap. And the MMR is a good amount over what the car sold for. So I doubt it's gonna, like, the seller would actually sell it. Probably would be going closer to like $2,000 realistic. Wow, so this one so far by a good amount over anything else. This one is supposed to sell for around $5,500. That's still a really good profit margin. That's still like around $3,000 profit margin. So far, Georgia is actually the one that's winning. All right, guys, so we have another car here. This is probably gonna be one of the last cars, if not the last car. This one is from Cali. I really wanted to try to check one out from Cali. The 2007 Mazda 3. It looks like it's in good condition. It does have an internal engine noise coming up. Hear what this sounds like. So from what I'm hearing, I mean, it might just be something like, you know, a belt needs to be changed. Nothing crazy. It's not like there's any big internal problems. It also does have the P0441 code coming up, but even with that one, it's not like a serious code. But overall, it looks good. Okay, so it did sell for $1,250. So with auction fees, it probably put it around $1,400. Let's see what it actually sells for, private sale. Okay, so this one is not really one of the best. It looks like private sale, it sells for around $2,300. I mean, it's not horrible, but it is on the lower tier of things. So going from basically first to last, first one was Illinois. With that one, it was about $1,400 all in. There's a small amount of work that was needed, and it looks like you got about $1,300 profit. And again, I will say this is all estimates, okay? Obviously, I can't be exact with everything. And this is all without transportation as well, if the person was able to just pick up the car by themselves. Then New York, that's my hometown right there. It would have been technically a little over $2,100 all in. That it was a small amount of work that was needed as well. And then that one would come up with about $1,900 profit, though I believe that one sold for like $4,000. Then with Florida, right after that, that was $1,800 all in, and there was no work needed at all with that one. I believe that was like it was like the older looking car that came up for sale, but I mean it was in good condition. I think it only had like one owner on the car, and it would be about a $1,900 profit from it. I believe it sold for like close to $4,000 for that one as well. Then it was Indiana. That one was around $1,500 all in. There was some work that was needed with that one. I believe one of them was like it needed some type of suspension work as well, and then it would basically get around $1,300 profit from it. Then Maryland, after that, there was $2K profit that you'd get. It would probably be around $2,000 all in, and it would also be some amount of work that was needed as well. Then Connecticut, that was the worst at everything, which was surprising, I will say, because I have gotten cars from Connecticut myself, and it's usually not that bad. I wouldn't say it's as good as New York from what I've seen, but it's usually not that bad. But yeah, with Connecticut, it was no profit at all. It was about $2,000 all in. That for whoever paid it, I don't know who would even pay that much for that car, but it is what it is. Basically went for the same price private sale as it did, wholesale through the auction and everything. Then Kentucky was next. That was about a $1,700 profit from that. There was no work that was needed, which was good, and it was about $1,700 all in, so basically doubled what you were making. And then Georgia, that was up as well. That one was probably one of the best, really. I mean, it sold, I believe it was a it was an Acura MDX, I think. I mean, it went for like $900, for what the top bid was. But realistically, I mean, the MMR put it at around like $2,600 or so. So, I mean, I've gotten cars like that. Usually you could potentially meet like somewhere in the middle. So maybe they might have met at around like $2,000, for basically what their top bid was and everything. And it looks like the car would sell for like $5,500. So that would be, if they ended at around $2,000 all in, it didn't really look like it needed much work either. They get around a $3,500 profit from it, which would be like, whoa, that's amazing. And then Cali, that one was a small amount of work that was needed, just small codes that came up, and it would be around $1,600 all in, and then a $1,700 profit. So obviously we basically just pointed out the winner, really, that Georgia car, that Acura MDX. That was the winner by a pretty good margin. That one you got a $3,500 profit, being able to buy something for $2,000 around potentially. Even if it ended up being where it was a little over that, where you paid, let's say, around closer to the MMR value, and it was like $2,300 to $2,400, and then you sold it for like $5,500, that's still really good profit, especially when it wasn't much work that needed with the car. And then on to the next subject too, just about what states kind of had the most cars going at the same time, which basically would give you the best chance of getting a car. It really came down to the main 3 states in the US, like the big market states, which is my state, thank God, New York. Then there was also Florida, and then it was Cali as well. These states, basically regardless of what time of the day, there would usually be some type of cars, going through. I will say, if you aren't one of these states, it's not like a bad thing. Like most of these states still had ACV in the states as well, but it was just like, there might be a little bit less cars. Maybe in the middle of the day, it could be 7 cars going through at like a cheaper price range like that, rather than like 20 cars going through. Oh, and I will say as a quick note as well, even if you're not in one of these like main states and you're like close to one of these states or something like that, the good thing with ACV is that the transportation costs are really cheap. So it's not like how much it would be to tow a car normally, where you tow a car down the block and it's like $100. At least that's how much it is in New York. But let's say in ACV, you could tow a car potentially like 2 states away, and it could be like maybe $200 or so, which for transportation for a car, that's really cheap actually. So it's not like you have to be stuck to the same state that you're staying in right now. Oh, we're shooting just like that, we back outside. But as a very quick note too, I will say, if you're not someone that has your own dealership already, and you're wondering like, all right, how can I actually get into a site like this where I can get these great prices? Don't worry about it, okay? I made a whole training explaining exactly that, how you can get into auction websites like this and everything without having your own dealership. If you want access to that, just go to the link in the description below and you'll see that whole thing right there. And besides that, that's about everything, guys. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell to be alerted when the next video drops. And until next time, peace.